Hi there.
Welcome back to Emotions and Potions.
A love/hate letter to... I'm Ashton.
And I'm still Alex.
And welcome to this week's episode. We are giving you Electric Idol by Katee Robert.
I'm so excited. We are continuing the Dark Olympus journey just in time for book 3 to come out.
Oh, I'm so excited. We pre-ordered them. We're just waiting. Waiting patiently.
Give me my book now.
I know. I'm after rereading, because yes, this is a reread for both of us. I'm like hooked on this world again, and I'm like, oh God, Katee, I would just like want to read more of her stuff. So
I really wish this series was finished so I could just like binge the whole thing.
I know. I like that it's not finished because it makes me pace and practice patience.
That's not my virtue.
No, me neither.
Only child syndrome.
I'm not an only child, but I don't have any patience either. But it's kind of nice that it's forcing me to take it at a patient pace rather than, like what you said, just binging a whole series in 2 weeks or less. So yeah, Electric Idol, Katee Robert, super excited to talk about this book.
Same.
And so without further ado,
let's get into the trigger and content warnings per usual. So with Electric Idol, we have emotional abuse, body shaming, murder, guns, explicit sex, some tropes, enemies to lovers, marriage of convenience. And one of our favorite things that Katee Robert does on her website is she gives like a tag for the book.
And they're like cute little witty inside joke almost like tags.
Yeah.
They're really cool. What are the ones for this one?
Forced proximity. I was supposed to kill you, but I'm going to marry you instead for reasons. Plus-sized heroine. We should sleep together to make it look real. Monsters of mothers. Fake relationship, real wedding. Mirror sex. Do monsters deserve love? I'll do anything to protect you.
Oh, those are so good. Those are so good. Right on point, all of those.
Very much so.
I wish authors did more stuff like that. Because it's
just like a little added extra.
And it's kind of cute.
It is.
Like, it just makes me like the characters more and stuff, you know?
It makes me love Katee's series more. Like, going onto her website and reading those is just...
Yeah. Same. So now that you kind of know the types of things you're going to be seeing in Electric Idol, I think it's time for the synopsis.
Give it to me.
All right. He was the most beautiful man in Olympus and the most deadly. In the ultra-modern city of Olympus, there's always a price to pay. Psyche Demetrio knew she'd have to face Aphrodite eventually, but she never expected her literal heart to be at stake, or for Aphrodite's gorgeous son to be the one ordered to strike the killing blow. Eros has no problem shedding blood. Raised to be his mother's knife in the dark, he's been conditioned to accept that he's more monster than man. When it comes time to take out his latest target, he can't do it. Confused by his reaction to Psyche's unexpected kindness, he does the only thing he can think of to keep her safe. He binds her to him, body and soul. Psyche didn't expect to find herself married to the city's most dangerous killer, but something about Eros awakens a fire she's never felt before. As lines blur and loyalties shift, Psyche realizes Eros might take her heart after all, and she's not sure she can survive that loss. A modern retelling of Psyche and Eros that's as sinful as it is sweet.
Give it to me. All over again.
That just makes me want to reread this. I
Right?
literally just finished, 30 minutes ago. And I already just want to start it again. Love it.
I wish you would listen to it.
I know. I just can't. So yes, that is the synopsis of Electric Idol. And before we kind of dive deep into everything that there is about this book, I think it's time to get some drinks involved. So, Alex, what potion have you made for today's episode?
So today's potion I have dubbed Olympus Gossip Smash.
Ooh, that is good. You said, I can't wait to show you the name or tell you the name. And that's great. Very well done once again.
Thank you.
So what is in this concoction?
So this is a take on a bourbon smash.
Okay, so what is your take on this drink?
So I absolutely love Psyche in this book.
I think everyone does
So
in this room.
Yeah. So I'm taking her drinking preferences and smashing them together.
Okay.
because she likes a fruity drink for the public side of her, and then her personal side, she likes bourbon.
Okay.
So we got some bourbon, some lemonade, and then I made a peach mango brown sugar simple syrup.
I mean, you would.
And then I caramelized the fruit afterwards.
You would. Yep. Awesome. It's all sounding so great so far.
So added in there to muddle up the fruit and, topped you off with a little caramelized peach.
Wow.
For garnish.
Wow. Okay, well, I think I just need to try this. Let's just get it over with. I'm nervous.
Because you're not a bourbon person.
I'm not a bourbon person.
I am a bourbon person.
I know. Okay. I trust you.
Cheers.
Let's see. Oh my God.
I think this is fantastic.
Wow. Wow, that is actually fantastic. I think, it's that taste of bourbon is actually pretty good because you can't taste the burn with the bourbon. And that's what I don't like about alcohol. I can't deal with the burn aspect. This is fantastic. Wow. Okay, y'all, I'm not lying. This is fantastic. It will be on our Instagram, the recipe, Emotions and Potions Pod. The recipe will also be on TikTok if that's your preferred method of getting things.
You guys have no idea how much of a win this is for me with Ashton liking it. Because I think bourbon and just kind of dark and brown liquors were kind of your fear with me doing potions in general.
Literally a hard, what is it in BDSM? A hard
no.
Hard no, hard pass.
Hard limit.
Hard limit, yes.
Hard limit.
That's a hard limit. I don't do the dark rums. I don't like bourbon. I've never really tried bourbon, but I was like, eh. But no, this is fantastic.
I got Ashton to like bourbon.
Yeah, I could definitely drink this more than just today, recording this episode. Also, beware, I'm a lightweight, so I might start getting a little tipsy. We'll see.
And I used some good bourbon too, so probably.
Oh, okay. Be warned. This could be messy. All right, Alex. So before we jump into our plot breakdown, we figured it would be kind of a good thing to talk about the Greek mythology before diving in case people aren't aware of.
Before getting into the retelling, let's tell you the foundation.
Yes. So Eros is the god of love.
He's Cupid.
He's Cupid. He's Aphrodite's son. And then Psyche is a mortal princess whose beauty rivals that of Aphrodite. And if you know Greek mythology, Aphrodite is vengeful.
Very jealous. She does not want people compared to her. She definitely doesn't want people to be
exceeding her.
Yeah.
So and she's the type of goddess who would strike you down. If you are a rival to her, you won't be for much longer, essentially. Okay, so in Greek mythology, Eros falls in love with Psyche, and Psyche has to complete these labors or these challenges in order to pretty much win his hand, and eventually she does, and she becomes a goddess, and they kind of live happily ever after.
And just to really hone in on the vengefulness of Aphrodite, the reason Eros fell in love with her is because Psyche's beauty was compared to that of Aphrodite. Aphrodite sent Eros to shoot her with an arrow and make her fall in love with a pig.
Always animals in Greek mythology. What is up with this?
But instead of Eros shooting the pig, he accidentally shoots himself. And then
accidentally? Oh, it is accidental. Oh, okay.
And it depends on which
the telling.
But then the first thing, and when you get shot with one of Eros's arrows, the first thing you see, you fall in love with. So after he gets shot with his own arrow, the first thing he sees is Psyche.
Yep, so that definitely backfired. And will that be a common theme in Electric Idol? We shall see. I think that's a great lead-in to jumping into Electric Idol. So Alex, start us off with this plot journey.
All right. So Psyche is at a party of the 13, which feels more like a marriage mart for the new Zeus, formerly known as Perseus, with a match battle happening between Aphrodite and Demeter. Demeter is trying to get Psyche to become the next Hera, while Aphrodite has her own choice of candidates. And Aphrodite is supposed to be the matchmaker and love arranger of Olympus. Turns out Demeter and Aphrodite are intense rivals and detest each other. Aphrodite takes this opportunity to cut down Psyche by body shaming her.
Classic, because Psyche is a plus-size girl, and she doesn't fit the mold.
But she's still beautiful, and everyone still loves her, and this really pisses Aphrodite off. And Psyche also is like a social media influencer and like has a bigger following than Aphrodite.
Yeah, she's definitely poking the bear without really being like vengeful about it. She's just living her life. It just so happens that people like her.
Yeah, and she's very self-made when it comes to her kind of social influence. Because Psyche, just like the rest of the Demetrio sisters, they aren't involved with other members of the 13.
No, they're very secluded. They just keep to themselves.
Eris, who is the new Zeus's sister, fakes being drunk and spills her drink on Aphrodite and Demeter and like kind of winks over at Psyche, which gives her a chance to escape the situation, and she heads for the bathroom.
Loved that. That was so great. Yeah, spill more of the drink.
Slap them around a little bit,
Yes.
something. After giving herself a mental pep talk, she goes to exit the bathroom and runs into a limping and bloody Eros, the fixer son of Aphrodite. Psyche helps a protesting Eros take care of his wounds and get him cleaned up. When they go to re-enter the party separately, they get spotted by a paparazzi, who starts taking pictures of them in this kind of
compromising position.
Yeah, it's very innocent, but like the way he like gets the photo,
it like looks like they're up to no good.
Yeah.
And like this scene was so cute. Like it really does like show Psyche's just like naturally giving. Eros has a reputation. He's scary. People avoid him. You know what I mean? He's kind of someone you don't want to have any kind of interaction with. But Psyche being Psyche, she sees that he's hurting. And she's like, I would do what anyone would do.
I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
And he's like, no one helps me.
Yeah. It's so sad.
2 weeks later, and the gossip has been spreading throughout Olympus about a possible relationship between Psyche and Eros. Aphrodite cannot stand the thought of the Demetrios having more influence and power over her, so she demands that Eros bring her Psyche's heart. Literally.
She literally is screaming, bring me her heart.
I very much got like Evil Queen Snow White.
Yes. I was like, you need to simmer down, girl.
Right?
You are at a 100. You need to bring it down to a 5.
Like, this is not what you should be getting this worked up over. Eros is having conflicting feelings of doing this, as he is not only attracted to Psyche, but she has also shown him kindness, and he can tell that there's more to her than meets the eye. But he is his mom's fixer. So Eros calls up Hermes, and we find out he has been banned from the lower city and Hades' sex club, but he has a message that he would like Hermes to deliver. Eros' intention, however, is that Psyche will be dead by the end of the week.
Dun dun dun. Poor Psyche.
Right. Meanwhile, Psyche is out shopping with her oldest sister, Callisto, and while she goes to the dressing room to try things on, she gets a visit from Hermes, bringing her the message from Eros stating to meet him at Erebus tonight to find a way to get them out of the mess that they're in. Psyche then plots with Hermes for her to go out and make it appear like she's with her to ward people away from where she really plans on heading. And Hermes is all for this trickery.
Yeah, I mean, Hermes is like, I think that I like you more than I thought I did. Like, you're interesting now.
You
like,
Demetrio girls keep surprising me.
She's like, okay, of course I'll do this for you, boo-boo. I got you.
This one's free of charge.
Yeah.
That evening, Eros shows up to the bar an hour early to scout the place and pick the most secluded and hidden booth. And he orders a drink, and he winds up putting some substance.
A little bit of poison.
A little bit of poison, some, you know, again, Snow White, Evil Queen kind of thing happening
very
there.
much so.
When Psyche arrives, not only is he taken back by her beauty, but her smarts and sincerity as well. Because immediately she begins talking strategy and offering advice on how to steer the media storm away from both of them.
Yeah, she comes in there trying to help both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And Eros is like, whoa, what is going on?
Yeah. And so he very much is like, slow your roll, and interrupts her and lets her know he isn't here to plan a way out of this. He was sent by his mother to kill her.
He's very forward. He's straight to the point.
Yeah. No beating around the bush.
He doesn't lie.
Upon hearing this news, it definitely takes Psyche by shock, but just for a moment, and she immediately begins trying to explain how this would not be an advantageous move for him or for Aphrodite. She's not begging and pleading, she's being blunt right back and
she's like, this plan is going to fail, and here is why.
Mm-hmm. Eros is once again blown away by how different of a person Psyche is, and how he really doesn't want to kill her. And finally, he's like, there may be another way. And that other way is for her to marry him.
He's just like, there's another way. Marry me.
And his logic behind this is not only would this marriage tie him to Demeter, but it would also tie Psyche to Aphrodite and, in turn, secure both of their safety. In addition, the thought of a love match between the children of two rivals would kind of win over the public. So then the public would be rooting for them. So Aphrodite couldn't kill.
Yeah. And not only does Aphrodite not like Psyche, Demeter and Aphrodite have been feuding forever. They clash.
They've been in a 10-year feud.
Yeah, they don't get along. So this is kind of like the cherry on top, that it's also Psyche is like Aphrodite's sworn enemy's daughter.
Psyche agrees that logically this could work, but she needs reassurance that he would be able to sell it for the media, or else the whole thing's going to fall apart. So Eros turns up the charm and asks Psyche lovingly to marry him, which starts to give Psyche the goosebumps, and she's like, all right, you can sell this.
So at this point, are you kind of getting Eros vibes of him being a little bit of a sociopath, where he doesn't feel emotions, where he has no empathy, he has no feelings, he's kind of shut down? Because that's kind of the vibe that I got, that he's kind of been living in up until this point of the book.
Outwardly, yes, but then getting his inner monologue about how he is struggling and is starting to feel, no.
Or do you think it's just Psyche being...
Well, I think he had a learned behavior of sociopathic tendencies from
So you think Aphrodite is the sociopath?
Oh, yeah.
And he's just kind of reflecting the vibes that she gave him,
100%.
He's reflecting what he's only really known. Okay. I think I like that. I like that explanation. Okay.
Seeing that he can fake it, and Psyche is used to having to fake her personality and role with being Demeter's daughter, she agrees to the scheme. But there are some conditions. Eros cannot hurt her mother or her sisters. Psyche won't have Aphrodite killed. And he can't tell anyone the true nature about their relationship. He agrees to the conditions and tries to get Psyche to agree to not telling her sisters the truth either. But Psyche explains, that's not going to work because of, how close they are, and they would be able to know something was up. And
they would see right through it.
They'd see right through it and create more issues. And the final agreement is that they will remain married until Aphrodite is no longer a threat.
So there's really no time frame. It's just kind of, as long as we need to be protected by each other.
So they make their way to Eros' home, which is in Dodona Tower, and they decide that they're going to stay there and live there because Psyche lives with her mother. So clearly that's
not going to work. They're going to be newlyweds.
Yeah. And Eros has his own place. So it just makes the most sense.
Yes.
Go to his. He's giving her a tour of their new home, which is very much an extravagant bachelor pad and is full of mirrors.
And I love this, that it touches on the vanity of Aphrodite and even Eros in Greek mythology. They're the gods of and goddesses of love and desire and beauty and lust, and they're obviously obsessed with themselves and their appearance. So I really loved
that little nod.
Yes.
Psyche notices how Eros' fridge is fully stocked, and she assumes that he has a personal chef, which takes her by surprise, which Eros corrects her and lets her know that he loves to cook. And cooking is one of the ways that he winds down in addition to working out and fucking.
Of course.
The sex part throws Psyche for a loop and tells him that won't do.
Because also at this point, Psyche and Eros are both attracted to each other, but they don't think that the other one
is attracted to them.
Or they might, I think Eros is slowly catching on that he does affect Psyche in a physical way, but he's there's no way she actually likes me.
Because I'm a monster and I kill people.
Right. And then Psyche is obviously, she does have some, body image issues, probably low self-esteem, like everyone has. And she's I don't there's no way that Eros is attracted to me. Like, he's Olympus's playboy, very, very hot, like, very attractive.
And then also, literally, his mom just kind of ordered him, so.
Right. So she's also struggling with that element. When
Psyche kind of tells him the whole sex thing is just, like, kind of not going to happen, it leads to a very flirtatious conversation between the two of them. More so from Eros's end, and Psyche's very uncomfortable with the discussion about them either being or not being intimate with each other. And the expectation, and she has an expectation of monogamy.
And she's very upfront about this.
But Eros does let her know that, like, she's going to have to allow him to touch her in some way to sell this star-crossed lovers.
At least in public. She can't be flinching every time he goes to touch her.
Yeah. And Eros definitely wants Psyche and is already thinking that he's probably going to want to keep her, while Psyche is certainly attracted to him, but is unsure of his intentions and motives. When it's time for bed, and earlier Eros made it clear as day that they're going to be sharing a room and sharing a bed.
Yeah, Psyche tried to get out of that, and he shut it down hard.
He convinces Psyche to make their relationship public and official on her social media. Psyche wants to speak with her sisters first about this, but he reminds her how they aren't going to do anything to put her in danger, and they will play along until they can talk to her face to face. So it's better to go ahead and put their plan into motion now for the media. Unable to refute his statements, Psyche begins their little impromptu in-bed photo shoot.
I loved this, and I also think that, like, Psyche's just very savvy. Like, she knows.
She's very smart and cunning.
Yeah, she knows the moves to play. And, like, she, like, as she's setting up this, like, photo shoot, moving the lamps around, trying to get the right lighting, I'm just like, yeah, this girl's an influencer, like, through and through, and she knows how to do it well.
And during this photo shoot, Eros takes the opportunity to kiss Psyche, which turns into a much deeper and passionate kiss. After getting the perfect shot and breaking away from the kiss, Eros says, "Your words say one thing, but that kiss says something else entirely, Psyche. Sex is still up for negotiation, and you know it."
Yeah, he called her out because I think she was kind of hesitant, but then, like, it didn't take long for her to go head first into this kiss. And Eros, you know, he is this playboy character. He seduces. That's also kind of a role as being a fixer, that he's not always killing people. But, like, he might seduce someone to get
into a compromising situation.
Or to get information that could destroy them. So, like, he has a lot of stuff in his arsenal of fixer. Seduction is one, so he knows. He can the signs. And Psyche is all about some Eros. At least physically.
I'm kind of all about
Eros, too.
The following morning, after a sleepless night for Eros, who was having a very hard time not touching Psyche and is currently rocking some massive blue balls, is scrolling through her social media and seeing how their late night post announcing their relationship has already gotten thousands of comments and even more likes. And he notices how many hateful comments there are about the photo and about Psyche and, like, her body and just, you know, the trolls. The troll and hater things that people post. Especially when you are a bigger influencer.
And you don't fit the mold of what society considers beautiful.
Yep. And he gets very upset by this.
He does. He becomes, like, a very, like, protective, like, almost wanting to track all of these people down.
Yeah. He's like, how dare these people say this about you? And Psyche teaches him the number one rule to social media: never read the comments.
And, like, this also kind of shows Psyche's kind of inner struggle with her body to some extent, because she interprets this as him just being annoyed that people are, like, talking about her because now she's associated with him, not because he actually cares about her feelings. But it's like...
But he actually is genuinely, like, upset about, like, people being mean to her.
He's not mad because he's also in association with her. But that's her that's her thinking. Yep. Relatable. And, like, that's one thing that I love about Psyche is
she's so relatable as a female lead. But she still also very much has, like, body positivity and is very confident with herself.
But there's always self-doubt. Like, you can be confident and still have your issues when it comes to it.
So it's very real.
Yeah.
Eros and Psyche begin their plans for not only the day, but for their rush job of a wedding, because it's been decided they're getting married, like, at the end of this day.
So they have had a 1 day, or maybe a maybe a 24-hour engagement from the time that he proposes this marriage to when they're actually getting married. 24 hours.
Yep. So it's decided that they're going to marry later that day, and then they're going to take interview requests that are already coming in. Like, people already want to know about this relationship. They're going to do that a week after they get married. So people are like, so the reporters and gossip people are like foaming at the mouth to like get the comment.
They're going to like tease to get people just being like, we need more, we need more. And then it's a little bit of a longer game.
Yeah, so that way they don't ask like the hard-hitting, like super in-depth questions. Like,
they just want the mushy-gushy.
Yeah, like, how did you meet? What are your thoughts on like your parents' rivalry? Like, they don't want any of those questions. Right. Psyche also informs Eros she does need to take a phone call from her sisters who have been blowing up her spot. They're going to need witnesses apiece for this wedding, so she's going to try to convince her sisters. And then she also needs them to kind of help her come up with a plan to distract their mother so she can go home and get some stuff that she needs. And like, she wants her own clothes and stuff like that. And Eros is like, I can just buy you new clothes. And Psyche's like, no, you can't. Stores don't necessarily have clothes for me.
Yeah, it seems like she's very much like she has to get things custom made or has to be tailored. She only works with a few designers in Olympus. And she's like, it's also very expensive. She's like, I have plenty of shit. Just let me go home.
And we don't have time for this.
And I need stuff now.
And Eros is like, what do you mean? Like, stores don't have clothes for you? That's stupid. And she's like, agreed. But it is the way it is.
Change facts.
Real life, right? This call with her sisters, unsurprisingly, doesn't go that great. Callisto and Eurydice are not on board with this.
And they hang up pretty instantly.
Yeah. While Persephone is skeptical, but is willing to support and stand by Psyche, since Psyche did the same thing for her in book 1, where she fled Zeus and wound up with Hades.
And it's funny because Persephone, and like, Psyche is very forward and reminds Persephone of her sacrifice when Persephone fled.
Mm-hmm.
And Persephone's like, man, I don't like when the shoe's on the other foot. I'm like, relatable. Like,
right?
Who does? But I thought that was like really like funny, witty.
It was. Just
like
a very
little,
like cute sisterly moment.
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
And Persephone does inform Psyche that her and Hades will be the witnesses. And Persephone will assist with distracting Demeter by taking her to brunch. After a shower where Eros winds up masturbating to the thought of Psyche to alleviate his sexual tension, he goes to the kitchen.
day, people. He just slept in a bed with her. And he's like, oh my God.
I need to touch her. I need to fuck her. He goes to the kitchen to cook for him and Psyche. When he enters his kitchen, he sees that Hermes is fixing herself food. Just lets herself in like Hermes does. She lets him know she's going to officiate his wedding. And she's like, so who are you going to have as your witnesses? Eros informs her that he's going to ask Helen and Eris, Zeus's sisters, which Hermes makes him a bet of $1,000 that they won't do it. Clearly, Hermes and Eros have some sort of friendship, as much as one can, being within this 13 Olympus society. And Hermes is still amazing.
Okay, still love Hermes. Hermes is still great. And I also love that Hermes, so far within this series, I don't know if it'll continue, but she's always friends with the people who don't necessarily like
have a whole lot of friends.
Like, she's very close with Hades.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Hades was the boogeyman in the first book. And, like, no one even knew he existed besides people in the lower city. And then she's also pretty good friends with Eros, who's pretty much an assassin for Aphrodite. But, like, their banter is just really, like, light and breezy. And it's just, like, I just love Hermes. Like, I just think she's fantastic.
She's so great.
And she's still as, you know, trickstery and sly as she's, like, ever been.
Mm-hmm.
So, very consistent.
When Psyche and Eros arrive to Demeter's house, she realizes they're going to need rings. Because, again, they're throwing together
a shotgun wedding of the century.
And Eros informs her there's going to be a jeweler at their place later in the afternoon. He just needs her ring size.
How nice. How nice. Eros and Psyche are in Demeter's home, and he is very excited to get a look into the real Psyche. He is surprised by how much a home this is and how much the Demetrio sisters love each other. And compared to what he is used to. It's just like, it's very shocking to him. When they get to her room, he is shocked by how messy and chaotic it is. And Eros is organized, orderly person. And he's kind of like, the fuck? You post pictures in your room.
And it doesn't look like this.
And she's like, oh yeah, I use Persephone's room because she's like a neat freak and she's a really good aesthetic. She's like, no, I'm chaotic.
You're Psyche's, I'm Eros.
Yes, 100%. And like another thing that when this, when we walk into her room, I was like, relatable. Like, because I am Psyche. I believe it. Psyche packs her suitcase and gives Eros all her lighting equipment. They realize mid-pack Psyche will still need a wedding dress, and she begins to panic. So Eros just kisses her to distract her, to get her to calm down.
Love it.
Very dumb of him.
I mean, sexy man kiss me to make me shut up.
Right? Who wouldn't want that? Once he gets her measurements, he goes to the car to make a call to Helen to get info for the designer Juliet, and for her and Eros to be witnesses for the wedding. Helen agrees in exchange for a future favor from him. Next, he calls Juliet to arrange for Psyche to get her wedding dress, and they must go into the lower city in order to do this. With an invitation from Persephone secured, the two make their way to Juliet's. Psyche opts for a blood red dress, something that's definitely going to make a statement, not traditional in the slightest. We learn Aphrodite has something to do with why Juliet was driven out of the upper city. Shocking. Eros is pissed off about the insulting comments on Psyche's social media. That's pretty much what he was doing the whole time she was dress shopping.
And just scrolling and getting more and more mad. Like, how dare these people say these things?
And she's like, oh my god. When they return to the penthouse, Eros informs her she can keep all of her things and clutter up in the spare bedroom, but she will still be staying with him in the master, laying down those rules.
And also, keep your clutter to the spare room.
Yeah. He's like, you're a mess, but only in that room. He's like, I can't deal with it if it's in the rest of the house.
He's like, I see you. I accept this about you.
Keep it there.
Keep it contained there.
So Psyche is struggling with the sexual tension for Eros. And she informs Eros it's time for them to exchange orgasms so they can get on with the charade. So she's hitting the point where she is just like, maybe I do just need to get out of my system. Like we both do.
Just one good fuck, and it'll be done.
Yeah. She's like, one-time thing, whatever. They only have about an hour before the jeweler arrives. Eros takes this opportunity to seduce Psyche. And during this tension scene, this sexual tension, we learn that Psyche has a hard time separating sex and emotions, which is also a reason why she's kind of holding out on like the no sex thing, because she knows if she gives in, her feelings are going to develop probably a lot quicker than they would if she holds out. Eros starts to go down on her, and by like at some point, Psyche is like trying to get him to have a quickie because she's kind of like, this is nice, but like I'd rather just get it over with. And Eros does not like that, and he decides right then and there that he's not gonna fuck Psyche right now. He decides that he just wants to make her feel good and begins really eating her out thoroughly, but make sure that he sets a timer for 40 minutes because if not, they're going to miss their appointment with the jeweler.
Well, the jeweler's going to be in his home.
Right. And he's like, I need to know when to stop because he won't. And Psyche's kind of like, wait, you're going to do that for 40 minutes? And he's like, oh, this is nothing.
He's like, honey, you could not leave this bed and
ever
still be
for
going.
Days. So once the timer goes off, neither one of them really want to stop, but there is still a wedding to prep for and time to meet with the jeweler. Eros is definitely wanting Psyche, and he is very excited that after tonight, she will be his. Because now that he's had a taste, he's like, oh, okay. So now it's wedding time. Hades and Persephone are there for Psyche. She learns that Aphrodite is away at a spa weekend and without access to communication, so she's feeling pretty confident that Aphrodite's not going to show up on their wedding.
I object.
Hermes, I object. Persephone informs Psyche she may have let their mother know about the wedding at brunch, which Psyche is pissed about. And she lets her sister know how Demeter was planning on marrying her off to the new Zeus, which shocks Persephone. Persephone had no idea that her mom was still on this vendetta of getting one of her daughters to be Hera.
She shouldn't be shocked, though.
No, she really shouldn't. Thankfully, Eros knocks on the door and interrupts this awkward moment between the sisters. Persephone leaves the two of them alone, but threatens Eros first, as any sister would. Eros lets Psyche know that Aphrodite has been informed of their wedding, and she has left a voicemail informing how pissed she is, and she still plans on having Psyche killed. He reassures Psyche that no matter what, he will still protect her and still intends on marrying her. And he's pretty confident that once they're married, Aphrodite will at least stop trying to kill Psyche.
It's good to have dreams and hopes.
Yeah, right? Psyche lets him know that Demeter also knows about the wedding and will be in attendance. He's a good sport about the news, and he asks her to trust him. Demeter meets Psyche outside the entrance to the ceremony room. She asks Psyche if she is sure about the decision, and once she says yes, Demeter lets her know they will have a conversation about all of this later, then takes her arm to walk Psyche down the aisle. Which, Demeter annoys me a lot in this series so far. But this, I actually was like,
Way to go, Demeter.
Like, way to be a mom, like a supportive mom. You didn't get your way, but, like, you're still there for your daughter. And that's kind of a redeemable.
Yeah, Demeter gets redeemed a little bit in this book. I mean, I still have a lot of issues with her.
Same. Definitely. But she comes off a lot better in this one than she did in Neon Gods.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you kind of see the more motherly side that the girls talk about. You start to actually, like, okay, she's still power hungry, but she does love her family. Eros had the ceremony decorated to coordinate with Psyche's red dress and hired a photographer. He's done quite well for a one-day planned wedding, and this definitely shocks Psyche to see this room completely decorated for a wedding.
And, like, he even had, like, the guests dress according to, like, her color scheme.
The 5 people who were in attendance fit the scheme, but still he had to reach out to all of them.
Yeah.
Demeter gives Psyche away to Eros, and she totally threatens to have him fed to her pigs if he hurts her daughter, which I think is just kind of the Demetria way. Throw out those insults that if you hurt someone, we'll come for you.
Loves and threats.
While exchanging vows, Eros is all in with Psyche and kisses the bride with all the promise he can muster. After the ceremony, Demeter congratulates Eros, welcomes him to the family, and informs him family dinners are on Sunday, and she will see them next week. Persephone also gives her congratulations and a threat. Ellen and Eris are next to offer their congrats, and the two jokingly place bets on their happiness. Psyche sticks up for Eros because she's kind of like, no one talks about my mans like this. It's also, kind of for the show. Okay.
But still cute.
Very cute. Helen also invites the new couple to a party next Friday that she is hosting, as she wants to get to know Psyche better, because she does look at Eros as a brotherly figure, because they are actually close, as close as you can be. Finally, the wedding festivities have ended, and it's time for the photo op. Before they head back up to the penthouse, Eros warns Psyche their marriage may put a stop to an assassination attempt, but she can still go for character assassination. Psyche says, I can more than handle her in that field. Because Psyche is...
social media queen.
Yeah, she knows how to deal with kind of that aspect of Olympus.
And also, Psyche and Demeter are, like, the closest personality-wise. Psyche's the most like their mother.
Yeah, and, like, this is something that they have a conversation about before she walks her down the aisle, where she's kind of like, out of all my daughters, your apple falls closest to the tree. You're more like me. And then Eros even has, like, inner dialogue where he's kind of like, she's like Demeter 2.0. And, like, I love Eros and, like, how he supports that of her being like, you're diabolical, but, like, I'm here for it. Like, you're savvy, and I like that. I just love them. Like,
their dynamic is so good.
Like,
they complement each other so well, even in this, like, weird tussle of, like, will they, won't they? I want him. I shouldn't want him.
Yes, and, like, obviously this plot of, Eris was sent to kill Psyche, and then it's, like, this quick shotgun wedding. Even though, like, that plot point is kind of, like, sketch, to say the least, I'm just, like, still so enamored with how everything just like falls into place with them as a couple. I freaking love it.
I mean, I'm right there with you, though.
So back at the penthouse, Hermes has left the couple a wedding gift, which is some wine that she stole from Hades, and leaves a note being like, totally stole this from Hades wine cellar. So technically it's from me, Persephone, and Hades. Like, congratulations. Which, trickster, little thief.
Again, I just fucking love Hermes.
Psyche is struggling with trusting Eros' promise to protect her, with her brain and her heart very much conflicting. She's at some crossroads. Psyche, however, gives into her sexual desire and asks Eros, what if a one-time deal doesn't have to end until sunrise? Eros responds with, I want no misunderstandings between us, Psyche. You need something, use your words, and be explicit. Whew.
Hot.
And then Psyche responds, I would very much like to have sex with you tonight. So Eros has one condition. As long as we're married, give me the opportunity to seduce you properly. They use this banter to learn more about each other and reveal some of the untruths with Olympus gossip about the other. Psyche takes the seduction deal, and her and Eros fuck. Woo woo.
A whole lot. A whole lot.
Y'all, this scene, like this wedding night, is 4 chapters, and it's pretty much all a sex scene. Different sex scenes. But it lasts for 4 straight chapters. 2 POVs in both characters.
I'm not mad at it.
Oh, I'm not mad at it too. It's fantastic, and we're going to tell you why it's fantastic. So during this first sex scene, he, like, obviously they're just coming back from their wedding, so Psyche is still wearing her beautiful wedding gown, and he strips her out of it as they're facing one of many mirrors in his room, in his bedroom. He pretty much, like, makes Psyche watch him, like, pleasure her, being like, do you see how beautiful you are? And, like, look how we fit together. And, like,
you were made for me. You're perfect.
All of those really, really great things. And, like, this is this was a great first sex scene.
Okay, so I listened to this book this time around. Listening to a 4-chapter sex scene. Oh my goodness.
I can imagine. It's nonstop.
It's nonstop. And there's the narrators for the audiobook are the same ones from book 1, Thoughts and Feelings on Later. But they're still good. And I had you listen to the first one, so you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They get into
yeah. It's voice acting. Like, they're acting these sex scenes out.
To the panting and the moaning and, oh my goodness.
And, like, how they say things, like, breathy or, you know, seductively. Yeah, I bet that was very intense.
And to have it for 4 straight chapters is like, am I okay?
Yeah. So this scene was fantastic. This first of many. After round 1, Psyche and Eros shower together, and he washes her hair, kind of like aftercare, taking care of her. When they go back to bed, they continue having sex. And I mean, like, yeah, full on.
Pound town.
Pound town. The next morning, after some in-bed flirting and bickering, Eros admits that he has been attracted to Psyche for over the past 10 years that she's been in Olympus. They continue going back and forth with wanting each other. Psyche gives into her desire for Eros yet again, and they have sex yet again, starting with the oral sex version of brunch. Yeah. So, you know, this was supposed to be a one-time thing. Morning comes, they're spooning.
And she comes again.
Yeah.
And again. And again.
And Psyche's like, you know, maybe I don't want this to be a one-time thing. I kind of like having sex with Eros. So they continue to have sex. They spend the day in bed, and it's now early evening. Psyche goes to shower while Eros cooks dinner for them, which is really sweet. When she enters the kitchen, Eros informs Psyche that they will have an outing the next day. She asks if he wants a giddy or a poised outing, and he chooses a giddy to help sell the whirlwind romance. Over dinner, they discuss their differences in childhood homes and his current penthouse, which Psyche, like, really has an issue with. She's just like, what is with all these mirrors? Like, she's constantly kind of being like, why? Like, I don't understand. She asks if she can put her stamp on the place, and Eros says that he'd like that. The two eat in a comfortable silence that Psyche enjoys for a while. She then asks Eros why he does what he does and kill for Aphrodite. He opens up to Psyche about he started with the Daphne and Apollo scandal at 17 years old, and his first kill was a man who was threatening his mother at 19. Then it continued until he felt he became her monster, and it was too late for him. Psyche is brokenhearted about this manipulation of Eros by Aphrodite, as anyone should be.
Mm-hmm. It was so sad.
So sad. Like, you could tell that Aphrodite just pretty much groomed him to be this killing machine for her sole purpose of staying in power. Fucked.
And it's like, the deeper he got into being her monster, the more she started to reveal how kind of minor some of these things were, but he was already so far gone at that point, it didn't matter anymore.
Yeah, and Aphrodite's also very, like, manipulative and vengeful, and, like, when Eros would stop and try to, like, get away from doing her dirty work, she would, like, ice him out, and, like, she's all he knows is family, and it's just, like, it's really sad. And it, like, makes you feel for Eros.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was definitely, like, nature versus nurture type of situation, you know, where it was, like, he adapted to what he was in.
Which is, again, why I think he's not really the sociopath. It's Aphrodite.
It's Aphrodite.
He just learned
from her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Psyche then confesses that she helped release a story about Ares stating Zeus's children are all failures. She did it because Ares wouldn't leave Eurydice alone. And Ares is an old guy. He's like in his 80s, and Eurydice is in her teens still.
Yeah, she's like 19.
She's like 18, 19. Like, good for freaking Psyche.
Yeah, because Eros kind of puts her on a pedestal and is like, you're perfect. And so she like tells him that story to be like, I have a dark side too.
And he was kind of like, that was you? Like, you were the one that outed this? And he's like, you're terrifying.
He's like, that put a rift between Zeus and Ares for like good.
Yeah, and like something that I do love about like this relationship is like every single time Psyche kind of shows her cunningness, he's kind of like, he's always stating like, you're terrifying. But
and I
like,
love it.
I'm here for it. Like, this is amazing, because this is not the persona that she reflects publicly. So she is completely surprising him. And it like fits his tune to a T. It's just too good to be true, right? Psyche also opens up about how she was initially treated by her peers within the 13, and she hopes she is not a fool for beginning to trust Eros. And that kind of traumatic post thing of that first year when she was new to Olympus is she's always been a curvier girl, and like she overheard her friends talking about how disgusting she was. She's fat, she's ugly, she's embarrassing. And like that's kind of why she put a distance between everyone but her family. It was a coping mechanism. It's how she survived.
So it's time for the date day. And it starts off with a stroll through the university gardens where Eros and Psyche chat and they get to know each other a little bit more. And they're getting photographed by paparazzi. And Eros winds up stealing a breathtaking kiss from Psyche because he wanted to, and also play it up for the paps.
Oh, of course. That's the whole plan. That's the whole point, though. So they're really going balls to the wall.
As Eros takes them to their next location in the theater district, he loses the paparazzi in like a little mini car chase, and he winds up taking Psyche to the Bacchi, which is a hole-in-the-wall bar for theater actors and crew. And this place means something special to Eros, just like the gardens were very special to Psyche.
Yeah, this is a place where people don't look at Eros as being this weapon, this monster. He's just kind of a guy, and like it's his safe haven.
Yeah, because this is more like catered to the theater people and like where they come after shows and like wind down and like kind of put on even like little mini shows and
right,
very artsy.
And a lot of the 13 don't venture into the theater district. It's not where these people of power, these elite
yeah, they're not going to go hang with like, you know,
commoners.
The commoners after the theater. They're going to go to like a high fancy wine bar.
Back downtown by Dodona Tower.
And here Psyche winds up ordering a bourbon. And Eros learns that bourbon is her private drink of choice. and that her public drink is either wine or something fruity.
And this takes a lot of her because this is like opening up to somebody that's not her family, but she takes the risk and it was rewarded because it does bring them closer as well.
And he's shocked by the fact that she's a bourbon girl, but he likes it.
Yeah.
And they talk a bit more about the necessity of like public personas, especially being children of members of the 13. As they start to get more attention, Psyche worries that Eros is going to lose his safe space. This touches Eros, and he reassures her how he likes that she cares about him and worries about him, but it'll blow over. He's like, yeah, maybe for a little bit, like I won't be able to come here, but the theater people are going to kick them out anyways.
Right, he's kind of already thought this whole thing through where, yeah, he might not be able to go there for a few months, but it's not a permanent. He's already knows how this is going to kind of go. So he's like touched that she actually gives a fuck because no one does, not even his own mother. But he's also like,
I thought about this.
Also, don't worry about it. Like, it's fine.
This sweet date gets interrupted by none other than Aphrodite joining them.
That was a shock to both of them as they're either kissing or like in a very intense embrace, and like she sneaks up on them.
Mm-hmm. And she lets it be known just because they're married doesn't mean her plans for getting rid of Psyche have changed. And she leaves.
Aphrodite just needs to learn when to freaking
let
quit.
it go.
Yes. Oh my God. But if Aphrodite is like this in Greek mythology, I can understand why some of her plans don't go as planned, because it's like, you shouldn't have been fucking with this in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, simmer down.
Eros wants to immediately leave and get them somewhere safe, but Psyche starts freaking out that this was all for nothing. So Eros wants to reassure her that regardless of his mother's threats, he will still not let any harm come to her, and tries to get her to calm the fuck down.
And I mean, anyone in this situation is going to have a little panic attack, and it's finally hitting Psyche a little bit.
And then Psyche finally asks him, what is he getting out of this deal now that their plan has backfired and it seems like this is kind of all for naught? And he responds with, I would think it's obvious by now. I get you.
Swoon, melt, all the things.
I know. I was like, ugh.
But it makes sense. The god of love, he better be saying all this shit, right? Like, you gotta know how to make a girl swoon if you're freaking Cupid.
You're not wrong. When they return to the penthouse, Eros gives Psyche the code and access to his safe house in case she's ever home alone and feels threatened.
And this is a big deal because this safe room that he has in his apartment, Hermes can't even get into. When he tells Psyche that, she's like, whoa. Because Hermes gets in everywhere. So, this is maybe one of the safest places
in all of Olympus. While they hang out at home together, Eros begins massaging Psyche's feet, and they start talking about the new threats. And he lets her know that he can help get her out of Olympus if that's something she would rather have happen. And Psyche is concerned about what would happen to him, and would he go with her? And he lets her know that one of Aphrodite's favorite punishments is to banish people. So he would put her in a different kind of danger if he did go with her. So yeah. He's like, I have to stay here.
Yeah, it's not looking so great with options for these two at this point.
But again, he's touched that she's still more so worried about what would happen to him.
Yeah, and through the whole book, he's every single time that Psyche shows some ounce of compassion or that she's showing that she cares, he's always floored. Mm-hmm. He's like, whoa, what is this feeling? Why does she care about me? I'm this horrible person. What is going on? You're hot. That's what's going on. No, I'm joking. No, it's more than just looks, y'all. It doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. Definitely doesn't hurt.
She's digmatized.
But our girl Psyche, she has resolved that she's not going to leave Olympus because Aphrodite will just find a new victim. And they may not be as lucky as she is to have Eros and, her sisters and Demeter and all the things.
And Psyche also isn't the type to run.
No.
She's not going to be super confrontational if she doesn't have to be, but she doesn't get pushed around either.
No, she does love her family, and she's not going to leave them.
No.
And then also she's concerned because Eros would continue to be Aphrodite's puppet, and she doesn't want that for him. So again, she also doesn't want to leave because of Eros now.
Right.
And he's just like, what? I don't get this.
I'm confused. You need to spell it out for me. I'm a boy. Sure we're not. Sure we're not.
Again, you're not wrong. They do decide that they need to change their plan for taking down Aphrodite. And it's going to start with Helen's party on Friday. Because Helen is the sister of the new Zeus. If they have her in their corner, that's just more better for them. And they also want to avoid an all-out war between Aphrodite and Demeter. And are only going to involve Zeus as like a last resort.
Yeah, because this is the structure of Olympus.
It's already kind of like...
It's rocky. I mean, this new Zeus is new. And he doesn't really have that authority and power yet.
And it's still not that long after like the whole Hades and Persephone thing.
Debacle. They're also thinking about Ares is old. He's going to kick the bucket anytime soon. Like sometime soon. Any day.
And there's like a few other like internal squabbles going on. So it's just...
And it has to balance. And if it doesn't, it's chaos. So they don't want that.
Yeah. And the conversation goes back to the party and about Helen and Eros and how they're both very important to Eros and how they're the closest thing that he has to sisters. And it matters to him that Psyche gets along with them and that they like Psyche. So Psyche agrees to give them a chance, even though she wasn't the most welcome by the children of the 13 when her and her sisters first join Olympus society. And Psyche winds up falling asleep on the couch after some more planning and just them having
it's like newlywed, and it's just like a couple, and it's cute.
Just kind of some domestic bliss a little bit.
Yeah.
So while she's passed out, he takes this opportunity and calls his mother. Aphrodite tries to emotionally manipulate him yet again into getting back on her side. But Eros stays strong, especially since he's realizing he's actually like really falling for Psyche at this point. And he pleads with her to end this pursuit and killing Psyche. And Aphrodite's just not relenting. So Eros makes his way back to the living room to put Psyche to bed.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that, like, Aphrodite hung up on him, which I think is a pretty big deal with their relationship, that he kind of knows that, oh, shit.
She's not playing.
Yeah, this is real.
So at Helen's party, Psyche is warmly greeted by Helen, and she starts to see that Helen, too, also has, like, a public and a private persona.
And her persona reflects more of a Persephone of, like, a very, like, smiley and, like, happy, outgoing, bubbly, but more like a lightning in a bottle. I think that's how Katee Robert describes it.
But that's like who Helen truly is versus kind of bitchy, upper crust, I'm too good for you thing.
Yep. And Helen represents Helen of Troy. Mm-hmm. So like her beauty is like unearthly.
And her book is next.
Yes. She's book 3, which I'm very excited.
And so Psyche's starting to get to know the real Helen, which to her surprise, she very much likes and is kind of, blown away by. Hermes is also in attendance at the party and it's kind of like, hey girl, how you doing?
How you girl, I see you.
And Psyche and Eros start getting like really sweet and cozy and kind of really acting like
a couple.
And it's genuine, like this isn't a fake thing. Then in walks Orpheus to the party, who is the asshole who broke Eurydice's heart and set her up to possibly die in the first book.
Psyche is not thrilled.
Upon getting the Cliff's Notes version of the events that happened, Eros decides he's going to go have a chat with him.
I really like this confrontation because Eros definitely shows like his protective / very like loyal side to him.
Eros and Helen wind up kicking Orpheus out of the party, and Helen bans him from any future ones. And they both apologize to Psyche for having him there.
And during this confrontation, before he gets booted, I mean, Eros is really upping that intimidation. He's like, I'm married to Eurydice's sister, so that makes us family. And then, Psyche's right there being like, it sure does, hun. And I know that you take family really seriously. And it's like, it's very just like, Orpheus is like shaking in his boots.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that interaction was just like, it was cute between Eros and Psyche, but it was also just like really cute Eros like taking this on for Psyche because he knows that family is very important to her.
And like defending Eurydice's honor. Like it was,
It gave me kind of Hades vibes because Hades very much the same way with Persephone where he's like, well, whatever, matters to her matters to me. And I love Hades and Persephone. So I liked that.
It was great. And after this, Helen winds up welcoming Psyche into the family because of like how close she is with Eros. And Psyche is hesitant about this, but she really wants to believe that it's true. And then Helen winds up taking her off to go play some drinking games.
Love that.
So later, Eros winds up having to take a drunk Psyche home, whereas they are going through the garage of Helen's place, there's an assassination attempt on Psyche by a solo gunman.
Yeah, and Eros, as soon as they step into the underground parking deck, notices that there's no security, and he's like,
Something's
I have
off.
never seen no guards. So he puts Psyche in the booth, and it locks her in, and it's like bulletproof glass and cement bottom. So she's pretty safe, and he kind of goes to scout, and then as he is scouting, making his way back, he hears a gunshot because there's a silencer on the gun and Psyche screaming, and Eros, being Eros, takes the opportunity when he sees it and rushes the guy and takes him down.
Yep. So Eros keeps Psyche safe, and then she gets pissed that he could have been hurt or killed in the process.
Yeah, she runs out and she's like, "Are you freaking kidding me? What were you doing? Blah blah blah." And he's
what were you thinking?
And he's kind of like, "Wait, you're mad at me for saving you?" She's like, "When you put yourself at risk, yes, you idiot."
He's like, this does not compute.
But yeah, he is just like struggling to understand.
The following morning, a hungover Psyche wakes up to a bottle of Gatorade and Tylenol left for her.
No, but I don't think it's needed.
Who else is it coming from? Her and Eros start talking about the events from last night and how to proceed with keeping her safe and thwarting Aphrodite. Eros is ready and willing to go to New Zeus, his old childhood friend, and beg him to step in if necessary. Psyche, unable to hide the feelings she has for Eros, and starts to kind of realize he feels similar feelings for her as well. She starts to freak out.
Naturally.
And she's more worried about giving her heart fully to him than the current threat on her life. I like how she's more scared to fall in love
than to be killed
when there was an actual like assassination attempt on her life, like
the night before.
Yeah.
Priorities are
a little skewed. She tries to flee, but Eros catches her and pleads to let him know what's bothering her because he can't fight what he doesn't know about and what he can't see. And instead of admitting her feelings for him, she says what she's bothered about is just she's afraid, she's scared. And he takes that as she fears him because he's a monster and a failure and a murderer, and he's kind of like saying these things that he feels about himself while like looking in the mirrors, because like she makes it to like the foyer where it's like all mirrored.
Oh my god,
in.
this foyer is like ridiculous with all these freaking mirrors.
Yeah.
And they're like, they have this 360 view of them.
And he's like, no wonder you're scared of me. He points to the mirror. I'm a failure. I'm a monster. I'm a murderer. And Psyche turns to him and has him face the mirrors, and she lets him know what she sees. Someone who's loyal, ambitious, clever, and intelligent. And then Eros turns Psyche to the mirror and tells her what he sees when he looks at her, which is a woman he doesn't deserve, someone who makes him want to be a better man, a goddess. Then Psyche kisses him.
Yeah.
And we get a very steamy mirror sex scene.
Yes. Like doggy mirror sex scene in this foyer. Like dirty talk because it's like, look at yourself. And they talking about like,
look at how we fit together. Look at me.
Watch me fuck you. And it's like,
watch you fuck me.
Yeah. And it's like, because he kind of is like, are you like, is it voyeurism or is it exhibitionism? And she's like,
yes, but only with you.
Yeah, this was a very steamy sex scene. I think that this was my favorite sex scene.
This was my favorite sex scene as well.
Yeah, I liked the intensity because this is also like where they're finally both coming to terms slowly with how they're feeling for each other. They just have like this emotional thing happen to them, and then it's like
it's
the
like
sex
rough
is just like,
and primal
Yeah.
and emotional. And this is the first time they have sex without a condom.
and who is he to say no? But yeah, this was a really well written.
And this was
Sex
one
scene.
that lasted like 2 chapters.
Yeah, this was a good one.
Very intense to listen to
I'm
on
sure.
the audiobook.
I'm sure all of these sex scenes were very intense to listen to.
I thought the first one was intense to listen to on
And
the
then you got to this one?
audiobook. And I think it was just because these are longer.
Yes, these ones are longer than Neon Gods. There is definitely not a four chapter sex scene in Neon Gods.
No.
So we're not mad at it.
Nope, not at all. I blushed.
Oh yeah.
It's funny, reading it, I didn't blush, but listening to it, blushing.
That's funny.
So now it's time for the meeting with Zeus, and Eros is struggling with the idea that this is no longer his friend Perseus. And Zeus is upset about this current shitstorm that Eros and Psyche have caused.
He's like, y'all, I have so much shit on my plate. I can't be brought into this petty drama, whatever this is. Because he's also not believing that
Aphrodite's behind it, because there's no proof.
Right, he's like, bring me proof, but until then, my hands are tied and I'm not going to do anything.
And he's also extra pissed because him and Demeter were in negotiations for making Psyche the next Hera.
And Psyche didn't realize that it was to the point of a negotiation. She thought that her mom was just trying to start that process.
Yeah, it was just like in her normal scheming, meddling.
Which also pisses Psyche off even more because Psyche's kind of like, I just wish my mom would involve us in her plans.
Mm-hmm.
Because Psyche is very methodical and thinks a lot like Demeter. But she gets pissed that her mom is just constantly like undermining their like intelligence or their age, like treating them like children.
And she's also pissed because she already tried this scheme and kind of lost one daughter.
And it's like, really? You're going to attempt this again? Just with a different Zeus? Like,
And
we
a
should have
different
known.
daughter.
Like, we should have known. You're very single-mindedly focused, Demeter, but...
So Zeus is like, there's no proof that Aphrodite is behind the attack. And if Eros or Psyche were to admit that Eros was ordered to have her killed, then Eros would be held just as responsible.
And that's a no-go. That's not going to fly for either of them.
Yeah. Though Eros is kind of willing to, like, speak up at this point, but Psyche's kind of like, don't you do it.
Right. Well, yes, because Eros would take an arrow for her. But yeah, Psyche's like, don't you dare mutter a word.
Yep.
You stupid, stupid boy.
And due to the current and previous actions of the Demetrio sisters against the old and the new Zeus and like the current unrest of the 13, he's not intervening. And Zeus does kind of imply that there are still marriage negotiations in the works. And Psyche warns him to stay away from her sisters. And he's like, you're going to have to bring that up with your mother.
Demeter, nothing really slows her down.
Nope.
She has 4 daughters for a reason, people. Oh my God.
As they go to leave, Eros and Zeus have a little bit of a face-off. And Eros starts to realize his old friend is gone. Next up on the agenda for the day is an interview and a visit with Demeter. And Eros, he's still very jealous of the fact that Psyche was supposed to be married to Zeus. And with this jealousy, he's, realizes it's because he cares and really has some deep feelings for Miss Psyche.
Yeah, when he finds out that these negotiations were further along than both of them kind of knew, he is very jealous. Because then he starts, like, imagining, like, Psyche being pregnant with, like, Zeus's kid and, like, starts spiraling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, leads him into being like, oh, fuck, I'm feeling this way because I feel this emotion.
So now he's resolved that he's going to keep Psyche and make this marriage the real thing, including children, which is something he never even thought about wanting before.
Because children is something that Psyche mentions when they have their first meeting when he is supposed to kill her, as kind of her trying to
humanize herself.
She mentions that, like, she wanted to have kids and a family. And so, full circle, he's kind of thinking about, oh, maybe I can actually have this.
And I want it with Psyche. Yeah. During the interview with Cleo, who is currently a gossip reporter, but she wants to become more of a hard-hitting journalist, and her and Psyche kind of have, like, a professional working relationship sort of thing. Psyche gives her some nuggets of information for Cleo to really look into this Demeter-Aphrodite feud.
And, like, this is a perfect scene where you see how fucking cunning Psyche is. Because she knows exactly how to work the system to get the results that she needs without giving too much information away, but being able to still execute what she wants.
Yeah, and she also starts to, like, hint about the assassination attempt. Probably has something to do with Aphrodite.
She kind of hints her in the direction of, there was an incident. Go look into this and see if you can dig up any information to prove that Aphrodite, because Zeus said you need proof.
So the interview goes quite well, and now it's time for Psyche to talk to Mommy Dearest. She confronts Demeter about the marriage negotiations with Zeus, and she does so making sure that Callisto can hear, because clearly there's new ones in the works, so it has to either involve Callisto or Eurydice, and Psyche's thinking it's more so about Eurydice because Callisto is just such a loose cannon.
Yeah, Callisto is a spitfire. She's unpredictable. She's just...
She would, like, burn the world down before ever doing something she doesn't want to.
Yeah.
And Demeter won't back down on the whole Hera scheming.
She wants one of her daughters to be frickin' Hera. And she will not stop.
Yep. Psyche informs Demeter about the Aphrodite issue, and Demeter is ready to kill.
Fuming.
Because someone's after one of her girls. So it's funny, like, Demeter's the only one who's allowed to scheme about her daughters.
Right.
If somebody else starts to threaten her babies.
Mama Bear.
Oh.
Mama Bear is out to play, and she is coming for blood. Mm-hmm. Like, run and hide.
Yes.
Hide your children. Hide your wife.
Hide everybody.
Hide everyone. No one is safe.
Psyche threatens to expose all of her mom's shady dealings if she does wind up killing Aphrodite, because she knows this would hurt Eros, and she's ready to admit, only to herself though, that she does love Eros and doesn't want to cause him that pain.
Right, and she knows that Eros does love his mom, even though she's been shitty. She's the only family he has, and at the end of the day, like, he doesn't want her to die either.
And Psyche also lets Demeter know she wants a meeting with Poseidon. Demeter said she'll arrange it because she realizes that Psyche's going to need him and Hades in her corner. So after the conversation and confrontation with her mom, Callisto then comes into the picture and lets Psyche know she's going to take care of the whole Zeus situation. And if Aphrodite lays one finger on her, she will make sure that what happened to the last Zeus looks like a gentle death.
That's Callisto for you. Like, she means business. But then also, like, when she's like, don't worry about the Zeus thing, I got it. Psyche's like, you can't kill him. And she's like, I know. She's like, I promise I won't. I'm like, oh my gosh.
When they return home, Eros lays his feelings on the line to Psyche and lets Psyche know that tonight, when they go to bed, he just wants to hold her.
Yeah, he's kind of starting to spiral in the sense of, like, his feelings are becoming too hard to ignore, that they're, like, love. Mm-hmm. He's kind of been in denial, being like, no, that can't be it.
I'm not capable of
it. But it's slowly catching up to him being like, holy shit, I am in love with her. And he's kind of like, I just need something to kind of hold me down. Like,
yeah, I need you to be my anchor. The next morning, Psyche has a plan and a backup one, but she doesn't want to inform Eros of it, as he may lock her up in the panic room if he knows what she's up to. She gets a call from Persephone, who wants to know why Hades is getting calls from Demeter and Zeus. So Psyche finally lets her in on all that's been going on.
And she is fuming too.
And she's not mad at Psyche. She's mad at Demeter. She's mad at Aphrodite, Zeus.
Yeah.
And Eros, he's been woken up and winds up overhearing this phone call. And they have a conversation about how Eros does have the capacity to love, and Psyche finally admits to herself that she is in love with Eros.
And she's been doing the same shit that Eros has been doing. She's trying not to, like, fall into this love trap.
Mm-hmm.
But it's undeniable. You can't.
Yeah. But
she's in love.
But she's still only keeping it inside her noggin for right now. Next, she gets a call from Demeter, who informs her Poseidon's out. But she does have the support of Hades. Psyche informs her mother that she's going to take care of it, because she has her backup plan. And Eros lets Psyche know that he's going to take care of the situation with his mother, that he's done. He doesn't want her involved anymore. It's time for him to step up, and he's going to kill her.
Yeah, he pretty much was like, if we can't get Poseidon, I'm going to take my mom out. Like, that is the only other option. Like, we have tried everything else. This is the last resort.
I'm willing to do this for you.
He's like, Psyche, you stay here.
Lock yourself in the panic room.
Because I have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, she's like, no, you can't kill your mom because this is going to destroy you.
Yeah, she starts pleading with him to not go and do this. And she even tells him that she loves him. Like, she finally lets it out.
And he's like, say it again. Say it again, say it again.
So this actually kind of gives him more resolve to kill his mom.
Yeah, it does kind of the opposite of what Psyche was hoping.
Yeah. And she didn't want to, like, say it this way because she didn't want the declaration to come out as, like, a manipulation tactic, because that's what Aphrodite's done.
His whole life.
Mm-hmm.
But she can't also hold it in anymore.
Yeah, 'cause she can tell that he's kind of, like, willing to take a bullet for her. And if, like, he dies to save her, he's fine with that. And
or if he kills his mom, like, he's fine with that. But Psyche is like, that will destroy a piece of him.
And it will destroy her because she does love him.
Right.
So after this conversation, Psyche does kind of listen to Eros and does lock herself in the room, but she doesn't plan on staying there. So when he leaves, she kind of waits a little bit and then lets herself out, and she calls Helen and asks for Aphrodite's number. Well, let's be honest, she demands it and kind of hints to Helen a little bit what's going on, but doesn't really have time to spare. Helen does, so Psyche calls Aphrodite and lets her know that she wants out of all of this. Like, she's turning on the manipulation a little bit now for Aphrodite. That she wants out, this is all too much, and asks her to meet her at the university gardens and smuggle her out of Olympus. Like, she doesn't want to die, just wants this whole thing with Aphrodite to be over with. Aphrodite agrees to meet her in an hour. Cut to Eros, who goes to Aphrodite's house to find that she's not at home. He starts, like, making his way up to his room and kind of, looking around his childhood home.
Some nostalgia comes into play.
Mm-hmm. And he starts having, like, all these kind of, like, epiphany moments and realizations about his mother and his childhood.
And you kind of get an insight on, like, the progression of him becoming her fixer from, like, the age of 8 is the first
time the manipulation starts.
That he can think of.
Yeah. So he goes to his room, to his safe, to grab a gun, but he notices one of his guns is missing. That was there the last time he was home. So he knows something's wrong. Helen winds up calling Eros and warns him there's something happening between Psyche and Aphrodite.
She pretty much calls and is like, so Psyche called me asking for Aphrodite's number, and I just saw a post on social media that Psyche is at the university gardens and Aphrodite looks like she's on her way there, was photographed on her way in that direction.
Yeah. So Eros frantically heads to the gardens, and he sees Aphrodite holding a gun to Psyche and how she's planning to frame Eros for this murder.
Yep, she has Eros's gun. She's wearing gloves. She's wearing one of his old coats. She has had enough with both of them.
Yep.
And that is really sad.
Very sad. So in typical villain fashion, Aphrodite gives, like, her big villain monologue, reveals her plan and about, like, how pissed off she is with Demeter, the audacity that Demeter had for Psyche to become the new Hera, and that she isn't good enough, how Eros isn't capable or worthy of love, just, like, laying it all out there. And at the end of her tirade, Psyche reveals that she's been live streaming the confrontation.
Like over 100,000 people are tuned into this live stream and have just watched Aphrodite admit that she, one, set a hit out for Psyche, and two, is threatening her with a gun currently.
And how she's planning on killing her and planning on framing Eros for it.
So good job, Aphrodite. You walked right into that one.
And freaking genius on Psyche.
Yeah, genius, but stupid.
Yeah.
A little rash, but I honestly don't think that Psyche thought that she was gonna get shot in the middle of a university garden.
Yeah.
You know, like, this was a public meeting. Like, I would have been shocked too if she showed up with a gun. Like, what the fuck?
So Aphrodite, you know, her schemes and everything, she's been found out, and she realizes she's been outmaneuvered, and so she states if she's going down, Psyche's going down with her, and goes to shoot her, and Psyche wrestles the gun away from Aphrodite.
Yes, Eros is on his way trying to get to Aphrodite.
Yeah, he's like running, ready to take...
But he's not going to get there in time.
He's ready to take the bullet for her.
But Psyche surprises him again and is able to get it where the gun goes off over their heads.
Yep.
And then she's able to get the gun out of Aphrodite's hands.
And thankfully, Ares, the god of war, his people arrive, and they wind up being able to, like, take Aphrodite away, like, in handcuffs, and then they take Eros and Psyche to Zeus.
They have been summoned again.
At Dodona Tower, in the meeting with Zeus, he informs them that Aphrodite will be exiled, but Eros will not, as he's family now.
And she's like, what?
Excuse me?
Wait, family?
What do you...
Come
yeah.
again?
Psyche's very confused by that statement. And in walks Callisto with a diamond ring on her finger. The new Hera-to-be.
I kind of loved this. I was, like, when I read it the first time, because obviously reread, I knew. But when I read it the first time, I was like, oh,
what?
Shit. Oh, shit. This is how Callisto's going to deal with it. She's just going to take it on the head and suck it up. Suck it up, Buttercup. One of us has to. Might as well be the oldest sister.
Mm-hmm.
Take one for the team.
Yeah, and Callisto's like, I'm tired of you and Persephone looking out for us. It's my turn. So Zeus dismisses the couple with orders they must stay together for a month to let this shitstorm and his kind of team spin it. And after that, they can do whatever they like with their relationship. But they have to stay together for a month. When Eros and Psyche make it back to their penthouse, they both profess their love and devotion for each other aloud and agree to stay together and have celebratory sex.
Yes, because Eros finally admits to loving her.
Yeah.
And so now they're in love and they bang it out to celebrate. Yay! Yay!
Then we cut to the epilogue.
Which is like a month later, right?
Yeah.
It's about a month later after everything has gone down.
Yep. And Eris has been named the new Aphrodite, which shocks everyone. Nobody knew that Eris was even working for Aphrodite.
But also the fact that now there are 2 members of the 13 from the same family.
Mm-hmm.
People are kind of nervous with the power dynamic of how that's going to play out.
And Ares is sick and on death's door, so there's going to...
It's only a matter of time now
before that has to get decided. And Psyche, she's made her mark on the penthouse. She's enjoying being married to Eros. And it's time for a Sunday dinner at Demeter's house with Hades, Eros, and all the Demetrio women. Psyche shows Eros one of their wedding pictures has been added to the wall of family photos, and this hits Eros in all his feels.
I loved this because in the beginning, when the first time that Eros shows up to the penthouse, he's enamored by all the family pictures and how happy they look. And then because he's so nervous, Psyche kind of takes him over and is like, look, my mom wouldn't have hung a picture of us from our wedding if, like, she doesn't consider you family. So will you relax? Like,
it's gonna be
okay. Like, she's accepted this as much as she probably ever is going to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
So relax, enjoy.
But I just love how it just, like, really got to him.
It did. And I mean, I'm not surprised that it it did.
Yeah.
Because this is probably the first time that he's actually felt like he's had, like, a loving family.
And Eros and Hades wind up having a really cute moment here because they're watching, like, all the Demetrio women, like, cooking. It's, like, organized chaos. Like, they all fit, like, so seamlessly with, like,
it's like they all
dinner.
have their roles in, like, prep for dinner, but they're all, like, also talking over each other, but it's, like, seamless, but it's chaotic.
Yeah.
So it's like an outsider for the first time. Eros is like, is this how they always are? And Hades is like, yup. He's like, get used to it.
Is this how it feels being a part of the family? And he's like, just wait till you're, like, in there with them. And he's like, no. So after the dinner, Hades and Eros do the dishes, and Demeter's like, good boys. But Psyche goes and checks in with him, which, of course, she would, and he loves it. That, like, of course she's going to come check on me.
She's like, you okay? Like, I know this is a lot. I know we're a lot. And he's like, oh, I'm fine. Thank you, though.
And as she is about to go back to the living room to be with her mom and her sisters, she lets him know that she bought some new lingerie for him, and if he behaves, he can take it off later with his teeth.
And he's like, I'm going to take that strip by strip, lace by lace.
And
you're mine, girl.
The end.
The end. Well, that was Electric Idol by Katee Robert. So well done. So obsessed with her writing. Just everything.
So speaking of obsessions, what are some loves of this book?
Yeah, so I feel like we did a pretty good job with this episode kind of mentioning some loves and hates as we kind of went through.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have a few. So, I mean, just to start off, I really, 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 really love Eros and Psyche in them as a couple. I really like them as individuals, and then I like them as a couple, as a unit. I also really enjoy Psyche being, like, plus-sized.
Yes.
Because you don't really get a whole lot of plus-size lead characters, and, like, the fact that she is this plus-size girl, she's obviously still gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, plus-size girls are still gorgeous, so it's like, duh. But then it's like Eros is still, like, the top-notch, in-shape, heartthrob, sex god. Like
buff, gym rat.
Yeah, I mean, he's bronzed. He's blonde hair, curly hair. He has really intense eyes, like, big. Like, he's definitely what you would consider hot, right? Like, in society. And I just love that he enjoys
so obsessed with Psyche.
Yeah, he's obsessed with Psyche. And he, like, throughout the whole book, he's constantly being like, I love, like, her stretch marks. I love her rolls. Like, I love that she has big boobs and a big butt and, like, hips and, like, you know what I mean? And it's just like a fresh of breath air to read something that, like, relates a little bit more to, like, me as a person.
Same.
Right? So it's like, and then obviously them just as, like, a couple, like, I just adore their relationship. I like how, besides the fact of their emotions towards each other, they are very open and communicate about everything else.
Like, again, miscommunication wasn't really a thing in this book, which...
Besides just for how they're feeling, but that's to be, you know, they don't want to jump into things. That's understandable.
But that wasn't really a trope here.
No.
Which is, like, it's used so much in romance novels. I'm glad it wasn't a part of this one.
Yeah.
Something I love with this book, with Katee Robert's writing in general, all of the characters in this world are very sexually fluid.
Yes. It's like Eros has been with
men,
women, non-binary. And then, like, Psyche's been with a girl before.
Mm-hmm.
And then we know that Hades has been with a guy and that Persephone has been with girls. And it is very...
It's just kind of, like, accepted. Like, just kind of everyone in a lot of the series that Katee Roberts writes.
Like, sexual orientation is not a big deal. It's not, oh, you're straight or you're gay, you're bi. Like, it's not...
Everyone's just kind of somewhere within.
Like, you're on the spectrum regardless, so it's like it doesn't matter where you fall. And I do love that. I think that that's not something that you see a lot of. Another one of my loves, so I caught this the second time I read. Earlier on in the book, when Psyche and Eros are about to get married and Persephone is in the room with them before she leaves, and she's kind of giving Eros a hard time, and she was like, do you know what it's like to love someone where you would, like, burn the world down for them? Later in, I think it was, like, one of the last Eros chapters in the book, he's thinking in his head in an inner monologue, Psyche won't find anyone else who would burn the world down for her. And I just, like, it kind of came full circle. And I just was like, oh, I love that.
Definitely. Burn the world down for me, baby.
Yeah, right?
Something I normally hate, but in this book I loved. And it makes sense for the story, especially considering the Eros Psyche myth, is the insta-love.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So something that I didn't think I would love, but actually do. I actually am happy that Aphrodite didn't die. Mm-hmm. Even though the first time reading through, I really was hoping she would die. But like rereading it, I'm really glad that Katee decided the route that she did, because it would have destroyed Eros. Regardless of how Aphrodite died,
it would hurt him.
It would have had a negative effect, and it wouldn't have really added anything to like the love story.
I also liked this ending a lot more than the first book.
Yeah.
This ending was a lot more satisfying than like the confrontation with Hades and Zeus in Neon Gods.
Yeah, I will say, so one of my hates is thinking about it in a form of the myth, because I wasn't thinking about the fact that Eros shoots himself and then instantly falls in love with Psyche, which insta-love is exactly what happens, because this whole book, aside from the epilogue, takes place in a 7-day time frame.
Yeah, once they agree for the marriage.
Right.
It was like...
There's a time jump.
There's a time jump.
After chapter 2.
Yeah.
So ignoring that too.
But like once you have that confrontation with Eros and Psyche about the murder, let's get married
7 days.
Yeah.
And so I did, without thinking about the myth, I was kind of like, it is a little unrealistic, but I thought for the plot line, it was very realistic, because I do think that something like this would happen very quickly. Like Aphrodite's not going to just sit on it. She's going to keep kind of coming in strong. So like as the plot goes, I wasn't mad that it only took a 7-day period for this whole book. I was a little annoyed with the love, but now that I remember the myth, I think I'm a little bit more okay with it.
Yeah, because normally this instant love thing,
hate is like
I'd be turned off.
Right.
But with it being
a myth
retelling, it's like, okay, I can give you this.
I can get on board with it a little bit more now, thinking of it in that aspect. So thank you.
Welcome. Sorry if I took away one of your hates.
I know, I only have 2, and you took one away. So now that I am down to only one other hate, do you have hates?
I have 2.
Okay.
My first one I feel like is just going to be a good across the board hate that I hope everybody has. Hated Aphrodite and the new Zeus.
Okay, so Aphrodite sucks. That was my hate. My other hate. And I'm like, and I also wrote, talk about mommy issues. Holy crap, Eros has major mommy issues, and Aphrodite is to blame because she's terrible. She sucks. Also, something that I hate about Aphrodite when it comes to the Psyche aspect is that Aphrodite is always the first to go and point out Psyche's appearance. And I'm just like, you already bitch. Like, you suck.
Though it makes sense with her being the goddess of beauty, and she's gonna go for those superficial digs.
Right. And like Aphrodite in this book is projected as being in her 50s, but having like a body and looks that a 20-year-old would kill for. Yeah. So she is very much about the right body image and what that means. But it's just so shitty. And I'm just like, can you stop body shaming?
Yeah. My last hate, which isn't really a hate, it's just I love Katee Robert sex scenes. And I wanted more because we only got 5 sex scenes. Most of the plot takes place in a week. Like you were saying before we started recording, there's only so much sex you can have in a week.
When also you're dealing with an assassination attempt at every turn.
Yeah. But the ones we did get, they were very good and they were long.
They were. Definitely longer than Neon Gods. I think Neon Gods had more sex scenes.
Oh, they definitely had more.
But they weren't as
But the timeline of that was like
3 months. So it makes sense. So, but like, I'm the type of person who also, when it comes to romance novels, it's like always give me more smut. Like more smut is better than no smut, in my opinion. So like I could have definitely had been okay with another scene or two, but I was actually very content with how Katee did it.
Yeah, I was content, but I wasn't at the same time, just because having read so much of her books.
This is definitely the tamest Katee Robert book that I've
and
read.
the least amount, I feel like.
Yeah.
Those are some of my favorites. The time pussy eating scene.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That was so great.
Comical. Loved it.
Yeah, that whole scene. Yeah, that was a great
But
one.
also, like, kudos to Eros for, like, just Chowtown for 40 minutes straight.
Yeah.
And, of course, the mirror sex.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Oh,
It was such a good scene. But also that 4-chapter sex scene, like, that was fantastic as well. You get a lot of different elements. You get a lot of different
so
sex
much
scenes.
dirty talking.
Yeah, and it's like this one that's part of that 4 chapters that I really liked. I think it's the morning after, where they're not supposed to be having sex anymore per Psyche's rules. But she is like pushing Eros to lose control because she can tell that he's like holding back because he is just like so strung up because this is like his heaven. Like he's trying not to like hurt her, but like she is egging him on. And like she finally gets enough where she's being a little bit bratty and he like loses it and like really just goes to Pound Town.
I did think of one more hate irritation thing is with the audiobook. It's the same narrators for this one as it was for Neon Gods, which thankfully there's been a little bit of time since I've listened, but I could imagine like trying to binge it through audio, having the same people read it would get confusing.
Yeah.
Because then you start to associate those voices with other characters that show back up.
Right, because like parts that I listened to of Neon Gods, specifically the male who plays Hades.
It's such a great voice for Hades.
It's such a Hades voice, but that is not the voice that I would picture
for Eros.
With Eros.
No.
Even without listening to Neon Gods the first time, his voice just, I would not suit what I was picturing in my head. Like, it is Hades. So, like, that would confuse me. And I don't think that I would like that. Because I would just be like...
They're both great voice actors and narrators.
They do a really great job. And they are good voice actors.
I just don't like reusing them for a different book and different characters.
Fair enough.
Though I will say, the sex scenes...
Oh my god. If you never listened, do it.
Just listen for that.
Yeah.
If you have a library card... and your library is connected with Hoopla,
just do it. Find a sex scene and just
check it out on there.
Okay, so those were some of our loves and hates for Electric Idol. Do we want to jump into some of our casting?
Yes, I'm so excited for this.
Me too. Okay, Alex, start it off. Who did you cast for Psyche?
So for my Psyche, I'm not going with a mainstream actor.
Okay.
The person I chose to cast is a curve model and a TikToker.
Okay.
Sticking with a social media kind of aspect.
Okay.
And it is Marielle Graguski.
Okay.
She's kind of known on TikTok for like being a curvy Fran Drescher.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. Oh, I like that. Yes. Okay. I like that. So I had 2 options. I only had 2 options. My first, kind of what I was picturing when I read this, is Ashley Graham. She was, because I think that she's the most well-known plus size, like, model, or like really the plus size, like, she's the first person that came into my mind. And she does fit the description enough of Psyche. So I also, after doing some digging, came across another plus size model. Her name is Tara Lynn. And I thought that she fit pretty well too. As being, she's like a plus size curvier model. And she also is like on social media and, you know, she does all that type of stuff. But cool, I think we had the same idea. I think all 3 of those girls are very similar and would fit a Psyche.
Very much so. Not mad at any of those choices.
No. Who do you want to do next?
Demeter.
Okay.
So for my Demeter, I went with the actress Rachel Weisz.
What's she in?
She's from the Mummy movie franchises, but she most recently was in Black Widow. She was Scarlett Johansson's mom.
Okay.
Like mom figure. And then also I thought her with my Psyche choice would
They
make a
do
good
look.
mother-daughter pairing.
Yeah. Ooh,
Especially
that is
since
good.
Psyche's supposed to resemble Demeter the most.
That's good. I like that. She does look like a Demeter. Okay. So my Demeter, I went with Kate Walsh. I love Kate Walsh.
That's a great choice.
And I was thinking of her from like the Umbrella Academy, that character that she plays, which is kind of like an evil, bitchy, like she's the villain. I'm just like, she could tap into a Demeter. And I just like, I really like Kate Walsh as an actress. Like,
No, she's great.
She's so great.
She's great.
So both of those on brand. Who's next?
Our boy Eros.
Okay, who do you have?
So I saw your name when you were showing me pictures of...
I saw yours too when you were showing me.
And I think we have the same one.
We did. We picked the same arrows, which is like low-key amazing. This is the first time that we've chosen someone who we haven't talked about this at all. Who is it?
It's Brock O'Hearn.
Holy shit. Yeah. I know that he doesn't have curly hair.
Well, it starts to get curly as it
But he is fine, and he is my arrows.
Yeah.
And he is your arrows. So
he's Eros.
So he's arrows, y'all. Like, whoo. Yeah, he is.
Did you have another choice? Because I know sometimes you like to do multiple.
The only person I had doubles for this week is Psyche. Because I had to mention Ashley Graham, because that is my original. But nope, he was my only one.
This is an E&P first.
I know. It only took us, 15 episodes? We've done it. Hooray. All right, last but certainly not least, who did you cast as Aphrodite?
I cast Kristen Chenoweth.
Oh.
She's a big Broadway actress.
Yes.
But she's also been in like some movies and stuff like that. She just very much gives me Aphrodite vibes.
Oh, so much. That is a great choice.
And again, I thought that would be a good
match, yeah.
Like mother-son pairing. So
my person that I chose, I also feel like could be a pretty decent mother-son pairing as well. I went with the lovely and wonderful Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yes.
Because she, the blonde, the petite. And I also do think that it could be a decent, pairing of Eros and her for our choices. So those were our castings. You can obviously find those on the gram, Emotions and Potions Pod. I think that leads us right into our song choices. So this one I had a little bit harder time on because I was seeing a lot of stuff for Neon Gods that overlapped. Mm-hmm. So I really I was digging deep for these ones.
So my first choice is for the Marriage of Convenience Scheme, which is the song Bad Idea by Ariana Grande.
Yeah, that's a good choice. That sums it up. It was a bad idea.
I mean, thankfully it wound up working out in the end.
But it was a bad idea that they thought that they could, get away with this as smoothly as they thought. No boo-boos. So my first song choice is aimed at Eros' protectiveness over Psyche. And I think the song title just is going to sum up what this song is about and what I'm aiming it at. Nothing's going to hurt you, baby. Because that was Eros' go-to line. Nothing is going to hurt you. I'll keep you safe. Nothing is going to hurt you. Constantly.
Yeah.
So I had to throw something like that into my mix.
Love it. My next song is to represent, how Eros feels about Psyche and how he speaks to her. And it's Just the Way You Are by Bruno Mars.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah. I could see that being in the soundtrack during a movie if it was. Oh, okay. In my feels. My next song choice is Dress by Taylor Swift. And this is one of Taylor's more sexy songs. Mm-hmm. And it's about where, she wears this dress just so he can take it off.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fitting because one, on their wedding night, obviously Psyche's wearing a dress that Eros is if I can't get you out of this in 30 seconds, I'm cutting you out of it. He had
this dress.
Yeah, he had an end game. And then also Psyche is always very poised and put together. I can imagine her wearing a lot of dresses that Eros is going to rip off of her.
So also kind of going on the more sexy end, I picked a song for that.
Okay.
And specifically for the mirror sex.
And what was that?
It's called Mirror.
Is it by Natalia Kills?
No, it's Mirror by Somo.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you put in a mirror song because I didn't, but I was thinking about that element. So I'm glad you covered it. My next song choice is Put the Gun Down by ZZ Ward. The song is more targeted at like another lover of her love interest, but I kind of tied it in with like Aphrodite, like
great song.
It is such a great song. But like, put the gun down, girl. Like, no.
So my next song is an ode to all the Demetria women, and it's Power by Little Mix.
Oh, yes. Very good choice for that element. Love it. Oh, we are killing these song choices. I'm just saying. Not to toot our own horns.
But toot toot beep beep.
Toot toot beep beep. WeTheBomb.com. And my last song is a song that represents Psyche and Eros' love. Obviously, you have to have a love song, not just a sexy song. You gotta have a love song. Into You by Ariana Grande. So we both had Ariana on our playlist. Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was a really good, just sums up like their relationship.
That's a good one. And then my last song is just a song for Psyche, because absolutely adored her as a character. And it's Not Your Barbie Girl by Ava Max.
Like that. Oh, our playlist slay, y'all. We really analyzing and interpreting. All right, and like normal, you can always find our playlists on Spotify, Emotions and Potions Pod. The link will also be on our Instagram, same handle, and on TikTok, same handle. It's really easy.
And we also have links in the show description.
There you go.
So now let's get into some ratings.
All right.
What do you give this book overall?
So my overall, I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. I adore this book. The second time reading it was an epiphany that I was just like, I like this one better than Neon Gods. I think I connected a little bit more with the characters. I liked the plot of this one more.
I liked a lot of the side characters.
Yeah, even though the book does wrap up very quickly, kind of a very Katee Robert ending where it's build up, and then it just closes very quickly. I did feel like the build up to the quick end was a lot better than a Neon Gods build up to the end.
And it also makes more sense with the retelling of the myth.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think that she stuck to more of the myth of Eros and Psyche versus the myth of Hades and Persephone. Obviously, Hades and Persephone had a lot of correlation, but for plot line
and like the actual story honed in more, where like I feel like in Neon Gods you got like a lot of nods, to different aspects of it, where this is more keeping with their story.
Yeah, and so I thought that this was a very well written book. I thought it was very thought out, and I probably will this will probably be one of the books that I will reread forever, kind of sporadically. I just thought it was really well done. What did you give it overall?
9.5 out of 10.
Hey! Because same wavelength?
Same wavelength. This is nearly a perfect book for me.
Same. And you know what? After the first time I read it, I still was favoring Neon Gods. But after the second read, I was like, nope.
Electric Idol.
Electric Idol is where it's at.
I still love Neon Gods.
Me too. But this also makes me even more excited for her newest book that's coming out.
This sells me more into the whole world of Olympus. Yes. Where I feel like book one does a lot of world building and kind of introduces you to stuff. You're very solidified in the world structure with this book and really get to fall in love with the characters.
Yeah, and the third book is actually Helen is one of the main leads. And I felt like she was definitely one that I was like, I want more.
Yeah.
I want more.
Because this book made me invested in more characters, where in book one I was kind of more so just invested in Hermes. Where here I'm still interested in Hermes. But same thing, I want more with Eris. I want more with Helen. I want more with Callisto.
Yeah. I kind of want more with this new Zeus because I'm interested to see if he is going to be better than his dad.
Mm-hmm. And I also kind of want more with Demeter because it's like, now what is Demeter going to meddle with?
Right. Yeah. And Demeter slowly kind of growed on me in this book too, where I was like, okay, I could deal with more of her in future books.
Because it's like her scheme of Hera is like, she has it completed now.
Right. What did you give Spice?
A 3.
Okay, I went 3 too. Because I do think that the sex scenes are intense because they're so long and they're very graphic. They're very intense.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing that's going to...
You're not getting BDSM. You're not getting a lot of kinks.
No, it's very just basic man-woman sex. And it's tame for Katee.
Mm-hmm.
But for somebody who might not really read smutty books, it definitely is smutty. I don't want you to think that it's not.
No, it's definitely...
But it's mild, but smutty.
Yeah. But still good.
So good. So good. And like the tension, beautiful.
Top tier.
Top tier. And they do hook up pretty quickly into the book. It's maybe like 15 chapters in. Maybe a little less than that.
Maybe a little less.
Maybe like 12, 12-ish. But those first 12 chapters fly by.
Yeah.
And then you're like in it. And you're like, okay, let's get it.
And they get it.
And they get it. Well, Alex, that brings us to the end of another episode of Emotions and Potions, a love/hate letter.
And clearly, this is a love letter from both of us. If that wasn't obvious by like the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, hands down, this is a hard freaking love. This is a love letter to Katee. This is a love letter to Electric Idol. This is a love letter to Eros and Psyche. This is a love letter to Eros and Psyche's myth.
This is a love letter to the whole Olympus series, even though it's an incomplete series. We're sold.
I'm pretty confident that this series is going to be a love.
We've read these 2 books, a combined almost 10 times.
It feels like it.
Probably, actually, if you put both of our totals together, it's probably more than 10.
I know. So bad. We need lives. But at the same time, so good. So, Alex, love all around.
Hey, and love for the god of love.
Love for the god of love. Thank you for listening to another episode
of Emotions and Potions, a love/hate letter to.
I'm Ashton.
I'm still Alex.
And this was a love letter to Electric Idol.
Until next time.
Bye.